Hey everybody, Lee Schneider, your host for Boot-Trac Adventures. Today I'm out here on Lake Winnebago enjoying some ice fishing, and Lake Winnebago is probably more well known for its walleye fishery than anything else. But every year in February, thousands of people come out here to take part in the sturgeon spearing season that's held. In today's show, we're going to take you through the equipment that's used and how shacks are set up, and we're going to talk to the DNR and learn how they age and track fish, and we've got a lot of information to cover. So we hope you enjoyed today's show because, like I say, this is something you don't see everywhere. So let's get going on the show today, and again, I hope you enjoy it. Let's start out by looking at the lake sturgeon itself. These prehistoric fish have evolved in the Lake Winnebago system with the help of the DNR. They are a slow-growing fish, with the males maturing at approximately 15 years old and the females having to be about 25 years old before they mature and will spawn. They range in size, and the record fish speared in Lake Winnebago was 212 pounds. Not everyone is successful. Only about 20% of the spearers each year get to harvest a fish. Many spend years and years staring down in their hole, looking at their decoy without seeing as much as a minnow. So how does one go about picking a spot on this huge lake? Let's take a ride out on Lake Winnebago and take a look at some of the steps before the season even starts. Some people have their spots marked on GPSs and they use these year after year, while others head out and drill holes and check the bottom for worms or drop cameras down and look for shad. But one of the most important things is water clarity. To check the water clarity, we use a device called a Secchi disc, and we'll show you how this works. A Secchi disc is an 8-inch disc which is cut into quadrants, and opposing quadrants would be white and the other two would be black. You drop this down into a hole, and then you cover yourself up with a blanket or something so you can see better. You drop the Secchi disc down the hole until you can't see it anymore. This will tell you the depth to what you can see. Once you've determined where you want to set up, you need to mark your hole so that the person sawing it has a guideline to go by. As you can see, I'm standing on a template that I use for my hole and I just chisel around it. Holes cannot be cut any sooner than 48 hours prior to the start of the season and cannot exceed 48 square feet. The saws used to cut the holes are chainsaws with long bars and specially sharpened chains to cut the ice. My saw happens to have a 42-inch bar. Many years ago, they used to cut these holes by hand with a special saw, or before that, they would even chop them with chisels. When we return, we'll finish cutting that hole and show you how we remove that block of ice we just cut loose. If you're looking for a place to go in Ontario with wonderful accommodations, a sandy beach to dig your toes in, or awesome bass and walleye fishing, Dog Lake Resort, just northwest of Thunder Bay, is the place for you. You can also choose to go with Black Bear Adventures and chase that black bear of a lifetime. Bonfires and beautiful sunsets are the norm here. This segment brought to you by Carbon Synergy, the ultimate in scent control. Beat them scentless. And by Pro Hunter Archery Sights and Accessories, featuring single pin slide and multi-pin sights. By Icotech, dead serious game calls and decoys. And also by Bow Dagger, the all-in-one bow stabilizer and bow stand. We stand up for your bow. Before the break, we started cutting our hole. One thing to note is that you do not cut the hole straight up and down. You angle the saw for two reasons. Number one, while you're sitting there and watching for a sturgeon, you can see farther off to the sides. And secondly, it enables you to get the ice out of the hole. Once you've finished cutting your hole, per the regulations, you need to put hole markers next to your hole. These markers need to meet certain requirements, and the reason for them being put up is to prevent people from driving into your hole after you move your shack. Now to remove the chunk of ice from your hole. You use long poles called pike poles, and you push the ice down, and although there's different ways of doing it, I like to flip the chunk and then push it out of the hole. Now you're all set to back over the hole with your shandy. Let it down. Make sure you're squared up to your hole, and then shovel some snow around the outside of it to help keep the heat in, and you're all set to fish the next day. Opening morning of sturgeon spearing is much like the opening morning of gun deer season. Many people like to visit the local establishments to grab some breakfast and tell stories of years gone by, or to share info on the current season. I prefer to get out on the lake right away so I can take my time navigating over the bridges which go over the cracks, and so I can go slow and keep an eye out for the ever-changing ice conditions. The other thing is you can beat the masses of people heading out right after breakfast. The first order of business when reaching the shanty is to get your heater going. Many of these units are propane driven and can be just heaters or double as cooking devices. In any case, the units should be able to keep your shanty warm and keep ice from refreezing on the top of your hole. Once the heat is on, you need to remove the ice that formed on your hole overnight. You do this by taking the chisel and just breaking it loose, and then you can either take it out by using a large skimmer, or in this case, because the ice was really thin, we just use a shovel and flush it out of the hole. Next, we hang our spears and tie them off to the shanty. I happen to use 2 spears, and I'll explain that in a little bit. We then turn to putting our decoys down. Now, decoys can be just about anything a person can think of, and we'll go into that a little bit more in detail later. But for me, I use 2 decoys, and I have one down lower and one up higher. Reason for that being that these fish swim at all different levels, and if they're on the bottom feeding or lower, I want to draw them in where I can see them better. And some of these fish actually swim right underneath the ice, so I'll keep a decoy up basically a couple feet underneath the ice to draw them in. When we come back, we'll take an in-depth look at all the equipment used in this sport, including the pipes on the bottom, the decoys, spears, and all the other equipment that goes along with this. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss any of this.
Boot-Trac. dead serious game calls and decoys.
Seeing how this is our first show, I wanted to explain a little bit about the upcoming segment. Boot-Trac Adventures is about getting people into the outdoors and educating them. Grandpa Ray Outdoors, one of our sponsors, also has the same philosophy. John has an extensive knowledge in agronomy and nutrition, and I've learned a ton from him. I've asked John to share his ideas with all of you so that you can keep and grow healthier animals on your properties. He's going to take us through this week by week and give us tips on what to do and what not to do. So let's get started with today's tip.
This is John with Grandpa Ray Outdoors, and today we're going to discuss deer mineral. Grandpa Ray Outdoors offers ultimate deer mineral in 8-pound bags and 25. But I'm going to talk a little bit about some little tips on deer mineral. So even if you're not buying from Grandpa Ray Outdoors, here's what you want to look for. Deer mineral needs to be 15 to 25% salt. That's the perfect range for maximum consumption. You get over 25% salt, you're not going to get as much intake into the deer. You have less than 15% salt, your deer mineral won't be as weatherproof. You see so many deer minerals in the market with over 25% salt. You're seeing some with 50 and some with 70. Challenge the people. Look at a normal free choice mineral that's used for stock cows, beef cattle out in the industry. You don't see such a high amount of salt. There's a reason for it. Another thing, dust control. We're using B&B Premium Monocal. They extract aluminum and iron. As a result, it's less dusty. So there is different qualities of Monocal and Dical, and the ones that are less dusty, the better. Again, check your tags. Are they using soybean oil or are they using mineral oil on their deer mineral? If they're not, the people that formulate it probably aren't used to formulating minerals in the animal industry. Animals do not like dusty feeds, dusty minerals, so you want to have dust control on your mineral, and we do. You also want to have a good balance of zinc, manganese, copper, cobalt, boron, iron, and the vitamins there. Here's what you want to look in your tags. Are you seeing a deer mineral with 2,000 to 3,000 parts per million zinc or manganese? Do you see 600 to 800 parts per million copper? Do you see a 4-to-1 zinc to copper ratio? Do you see a mineral that's got sulfates or proteinates or other forms of chelates or polysaccharides? More bioavailable. If you're seeing zinc oxide, manganese oxide, iron oxide, copper oxide, they're cheap minerals. They're low in bioavailability. Iron oxide, for example, has zero bioavailability. It's just used as a coloring agent. So, deer mineral. Other things too, real quick. You want to bury your deer mineral. You want to dig a hole not too deep. You dig a deep hole, water will stand in the mineral lick and get the mineral to be less than the ideal consumption. They can get mushy, soft, in that, or also could become really hard like a trace mineral block. So also, my little thing I tell people is, you want a trick? Try to keep things natural for deer. Just lightly kick a little dirt over top the mineral once you dump it in your little mineral hole there, and it makes it more natural to deer, and they'll get after the mineral sooner. That's just a few little thoughts on deer mineral from John with Grandpa Ray Outdoors.
This segment brought to you by Pro-Tracker, the ultimate tracking and recovery system. Ultra Pro X cameras. The adventure starts here. Boning Archery, your archery equipment source since 1946. And Pete Shoe Dryer. We invented dry. Welcome back, and let's get back out in that shanty and learn a little bit more about the equipment we use. The X you see on the bottom is actually, different people use different things. I happen to use white PVC 4-inch pipe, and we cut it. Those are 8 feet long. We cut them lengthways in half, And then we bolt them together, we make this X, and then we let it down, we put it on the bottom. It serves two purposes. The first thing it does is because the light comes through it, it reflects off of the PVC, so you can see the fish a little bit better. Also because of the coloration of the fish, if they're right on the bottom, except on really super clear years, seeing them on the bottom can be pretty difficult. So when they swim through the hole, if they're way down, sometimes you won't see them until they cross that pipe, and then it's basically like silhouette shooting. You will see the outline of the fish, and then you can spear it. Moving up in the hole, I have two decoys down. One is quite a bit farther down than the higher one, and it's smaller, so you may not even be able to see it. But if you're looking at the one that's up higher, mine happens to be a carb decoy. And decoys can be anything. I've seen everything from soup to nuts out here. I have seen toilet seats, coffee cans, corn cobs, bedpans, you name it, it's been down there. And basically it's just there to get the fish's attention. They're a curious fish, and they will swim in, check it out, and then spear them. Like I say, decoys can be of any size or any shape, and it's just whatever you feel lucky with. Moving up farther, we have the spears, and what I have two spears in my shanty. The one you see in the left-hand corner there is it's one of the original styles that they used many years ago. That used to be my dad's. It's just basically a straightened out pitchfork with barbs on it, and I just use that as a second spear in case I get a poor hit on one. I can always use the second spear. And then on the other side I have one of the newer ones, which are the flying barbs, and that is my main spear.
It gets the name flying barb spear because of the flying barbs on the tines. After penetrating a fish, they fly out and prevent the spear from pulling out backwards. Another difference is the old spear was one solid piece and the rope was tied to the end of the handle, where the new ones have a detachable head and the rope is tied directly to the spearhead. The tines also unscrew to help in getting them out of the fish. The last piece of equipment is the gaff hook, which aids in getting the fish out of the hole. So that's the overview of the equipment that we use while we're sturgeon spearing. And now it's basically down to just staring through our little window into the underwater world. As I'm sitting there, I keep thinking, what does a fish see? What's the view from the bottom up? Well, I decided to take our Ultra Pro cameras and take a look at just that. I attached the GoPro to a 14-foot extendable pole. One of the questions I'm asked a lot is, why do you keep the shanties dark inside? Very simply, without light inside, as you can see, looking up, there's just a dark spot there. The fish can't see you moving around in there. However, if there were light in there, it would look very similar to this here, where we were checking the water depth and I put the camera down. See how easily you can see us up above? Even if a fish were to come through very high, they wouldn't be able to see you. I then reached off to the side as far as I could and slowly brought the camera in to get an idea of what a fish saw as it enters a hole. Some people compare sturgeon spearing to trying to shoot ducks through a chimney. And frankly, I'd have to agree with them when you consider on the average you're cutting about an 18 square foot hole into a 215 square mile lake. We're going to take a little break, but when we come back, I'm going to interview Tricia Bowen-Steffen and find out how she got introduced to the sturgeon spearing sport, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history and heritage of the sport too.
At Grand Beret Outdoors, we strive to provide the best nutrition for your whitetail deer, starting with the soil. We provide a full line of high-quality food plot seed, plant foods, and minerals, and are not about a fancy name or package. We offer a year-round program of nutrition and food plot education that is natural and innovative. We work with you to give you specific recommendations for your own properties. Together, we can help you achieve the next level in whitetail deer management. Grand Beret Outdoors. Why go anywhere else?
The Pro Tracker allows you a much better chance on recovering when you've lost blood trail, when you've lost track, or when it rains. The radio transmitter attaches to the animal's hide and then sends a radio signal back to a receiver so that you can track that transmitter. The Pro Tracker system gives you a better opportunity of locating and recovering that animal when all other avenues have been exhausted. And that is what this does.
This segment brought to you by Ghost Blind. Not seeing is believing. By Grandpa Ray Outdoors. We're not about fancy bags. We are about complete whitetail nutrition. Ohio Paracord and Bulwarks. Dog Lake Resort, your vacation spot in Ontario for family and sportsmen. And by Game Changer, a new and exciting way to hunt turkeys. Shoot them in self-defense. Sturgeon spearing isn't just about the fish. There's a lot of history and heritage behind this, and I had a chance to sit down and talk to Tricia Bowen-Steffen, a member of the Outdoors Media, about all this.
Almost like a family event. In fact, it's a heritage that's been brought up from years before. And I'm here with Tricia Bowen. She's a pro staffer for a number of products, and she's fairly new to the sport. This is your second year?
Second year sturgeon spearing.
And how did you get involved with it? What brought you down here? I know you're from northern Wisconsin, but what got you down here?
I'm from northern Wisconsin. I was actually born in Fond du Lac.
Oh, really?
I was. Did ice fishing down here with my dad for a lot of years. I went to school down here. And then through my growth in the outdoor industry and writing, the Fond du Lac Visitors Bureau requested some ladies come out, and they wanted to do an event promoting women on Winnebago, a WOW event, to introduce women to sturgeon spearing and help promote the area and the heritage and make sure that sturgeon spearing doesn't go away, doesn't die, and people understand that this is here and it's the only place in the world you can do it. So I was invited to the event, blown away by the family and the heritage and all the great things that go with the art and the ecology and the biology, the fact that Wisconsinites brought them back from extinction was really, truly amazing.
And Sturgeons for Tomorrow, was probably the biggest turning point in that whole thing. And again, it goes back to, it was not DNR, it was not any, they worked in conjunction with it, but it was a group of people from the area that started this whole thing.
Yeah. Bill Casper, we've heard him speak several times very passionately about it. Moves you to tears when you see how passionate somebody is about getting an animal and making sure this is here for the next generation to do.
Now, last year was your first year.
Yeah.
And you even got to saw a little bit.
I got to saw, run the saw. Somebody trusted me with a chainsaw that big. I don't know what they were thinking, but I kept all my limbs and digits, so I must not have done too bad.
Well, that's the main thing. That's the main thing. So last year, did you get a sturgeon?
I did not get a sturgeon. Water was quite murky. We were in some deep water the first day. I saw a shadow. Was it a pike? Was it a walleye? Was it a sturgeon? I don't know. I didn't have but 2 seconds to think about it, process that something moved through, and it was gone. So
yeah, it goes fast, that's for sure.
It goes fast, but it gets the adrenaline going, makes you want to do it some more.
You've never seen one come in, but I can guarantee you, when you do see it, your heart's going to be up in your throat.
I can only imagine. I've been Googling videos and watching segments of other people, so I know what to expect, and just waiting for that moment. How many times do you get to spear a dinosaur?
Well, I've been kind of lucky. the length of it, yeah, there we go. Yeah, and I've been doing this. This is my 41st year of spearing. So I think I was looking back through the pictures last night, and I counted 16 that I have speared.
Oh, good for you.
But I haven't hit the 100-pound mark yet. I'm waiting for that. So if you beat me to that,
okay.
Well, I won't be mad, but I'm going to be following you around. Well, I want to thank you for taking time to come out here and join us. And you got anything else that you want to tell everybody?
Oh, just get out here and see it. Even if you don't draw a tag, if you've never been sturgeon spearing, there's so many things going on around the lake and ways to see this fish that you'd never see otherwise. Bring the kids out, let them see what it's all about.
Yeah, go to the registration stations. Yeah. It's something to watch, and like you say, going to the biology end of it. I mean, they take samples off of them to age them and to see the growth and how healthy the animals are, and they truly, really watch this sport and these animals very close. So, yeah, I agree with you. Get out here and check it out. It's the only place in the country that you're going to see this done, spearing through the ice for sturgeon. You got to get down here to Lake Winnebago. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Good luck tomorrow.
You too.
As you can see, there's more to sturgeon spearing than meets the eye. You heard Tricia mention the activities around the lake surrounding sturgeon spearing, and you also heard her mention the WOW event, or Women on Winnebago.
We also haven't had a chance to talk to the DNR and see what they do at the registration stations there. We also didn't get a chance to sit out in the shanty with anybody and get to see some of these fish speared and get to talk to some lucky anglers. Next week's show is going to cover all that. So until next week, go where the tracks lead you.
Stop starting out sopping wet. Start using a Pete dryer. Do what you like best in the soothing comfort of Pete Dry, a peculiar kind of dryness that effectively removes wet and sweat from all boots. You feel better. Your boots last longer. Pete is easy to use and what you want. Go to www.petedryer.com and start feeling better. Pete, the original boot dryer and still the best.